How you doing? I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name's Tony. Welcome to the Keystone Big Book Study Workshop or the Program of Recovery. Sobriety Date's April 8, 1989. I'm still amazed every time I say that, and so is the people around me. So that's pretty awesome. We got Katie joining us tonight, and all is well. And what do we need for a good meeting there, Katie?
Oh, we need God.
Yeah, at least I know for sure you prayed once today. So let's do it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, we're at the exciting part of this process, so there should be a lot less people here. I always find it interesting when you sit in meetings. It sounds like everybody's done the steps. Anybody remember when they're new? You sit there and it sounds like everybody talked about like they've done the process. And then when you get to the part of the process everybody talks about and hasn't done, you don't see them anymore during the study. It's funny. I've been doing workshops now, holy smokes, going over 36 years, and probably Ray would have the same kind of experience. Everybody piles in. When you start again? When you're starting over, right? And they all pile in for the first 3 steps, and then step 4 is just like a fire sale or something. Everybody's gone, right? So it's quite interesting. So where we're at, like I said, we looked at step 3 last week, and I think that's a good place to start. It's kind of like a hope on what we're hoping to achieve. We've done a good summary of what we're afflicted with, what we're hoping to gain, which is steps 1 and 2. Step 2 is outlined on and how it works on page 59 of the course of action that they took, and as the result of this course of action, they had a new experience, right? And a lot of people talk about it's about working the steps, as practicing the program. Well, it really isn't about that, right? I mean, that's a part, but that isn't the focus point. What I mean by that is when you learn to get your license, right? You're sitting in the car and they explain to you, this is the gas, this is the brake, this is the clutch, this is, your instrument panel, this is, all your mirrors, all this stuff. And then when you put that all together, you engage and you stare out the window, right? The idea is that you're staring out the window to where you want to go, right? But if you start staring at all the panel and instruments and all that stuff, it won't be long before you miss the point of the instruments and the gadgets and all that stuff. It allows you to have an experience to get on the road and start enjoying life, right? And that's kind of like what this process is talking about. In step 3, it's talking about an idea that we're hoping to experience. And it's a summary of the whole course of action. A lot of people read step 3 and think that's what we get in step 3. No, we're making a decision to pursue this course of action to experience the things that they're outlining in the 3rd step prayer, right? And so we see the beginning is, I offer myself. And then the conclusion is, I have an experience in carrying this message. So it's really a small synopsis on the overall, what we're hoping to experience, right? And so why don't we start with there, Katie? Where are you? Katie, you still here? Katie, how the hell are you, Katie?
I'm here. I'm good. How are you guys doing? What page are you on, Tony?
What's your name? What's your sobriety? Where are you?
I'm Katie. I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Nice.
Happy to be here.
No. No. There was a time we weren't, but we'll leave that alone.
It wasn't always that way. Where do you want me to start?
Well, let's start with on the conclusion of where we're at and where we want to go, which is the beginning of step 3. We are now at step 3, right? So from page 44 to here prepared us for where we're going, right? We understand alcoholism. We understand the solution, what we need to obtain. We understand the process in this book gets me that connection that creates the change. Warren, how was I to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. So in essence, we're kind of sitting at the kitchen table with Ebby, right? Do I want what's being offered here? Do I know what's being offered here? And am I willing to pursue this? And all we know we need to make a beginning is a willingness to be willing. Like how minimal is that? Are you willing to be even willing to participate in the saving of your own life? Can you get involved? Well, I don't know. how is that alcoholic death, right? We're the only group of people. How long do I got to make a decision between a spiritual life and an alcoholic death? I wonder how bad, like, so when you've been around a little longer and you start working with people who were once like you, right? And the doctor talks about maladjusted, full-fledged from reality and downright mental defectives. Like we're the only group of people resistance to something we're so amazed with after we've done it. Like it's really
Wow.
right. Like the
Yeah.
resistance is strong with this one. On this side of it is like it's like dragging your dog to get neutered or something, right? Nails in the ground. It's good for you, but it's not that experience. It's something. And those when we talk about the promises, we talk about a group of people who are amazed of the experience they're having. But they should kind of, at that point, reiterate the resistance they had in beginning it. How many people have strong resistance here? We already know. All of us.
Well, we forget, right? We forget. We think this was our idea by the time we get to that point.
Yeah.
Like,
So what are they presenting us in their experience? Well,
so we're being convinced we're at step 3.
yeah, we are now at step 3, page 63. Interesting, but 6 and 3 we'll get in. I like numerology,
we're now
right?
at step. Okay. Middle of page 63. We were now at step 3. Many of us said to our Maker as we understood him.
And so, what's the basis of understanding of that? Is right, regardless of how you think about it, it's a conception that I need a power greater than me, and I need to get access to the power. That's how we understand, all of us collectively. Is lack of power is our dilemma, so we had to get access to power. And how were we to find it? That's what this book is about. So we're making a decision to pursue this, and then we become a part of the collective. So we have the collective understanding what they mean by when God as we understood him. We have to have that understanding. Right?
Absolutely.
The collective, okay? Go ahead.
And up until this point, they've mentioned many times what they're talking about is this power within. That they found an inner resource of strength, right? So they're not telling you who or what God is, but they've told us where they've connected to this power, and it's something within everyone.
And on that note, right, it is an interesting point where they say it's only in the last analysis, the last place we look, which we would have never looked without this guidance. I would have never thought it was something that I was to search diligently within myself, right? And they'd give me the access code to that. My understanding of step 2 was always of this relationship with God that seemed impossible to formulate based on the condition I was in, and my pursuit of that was always outside the course of action, which you hear a lot of people talk about their understanding of God in step 2 and their relationship, which isn't step 2 at all. Right? And so here they're saying it doesn't matter, but you believe or are willing to believe that this power, you'll get access to it if you go through. It's pretty wild, right? So we're looking in the last analysis, deep down within. Go ahead.
Yeah. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self.
So that's the first thing we could expect is the relief of the bondage of self. How cool is that? What do we used to have to engage in for the relief of the bondage of self? Relief. There's a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff. The last thing was relapse. But how many people engage in different things to try to find a sense of ease and comfort? To the dilemma, to the human condition.
Yeah.
But always left with more bondage. Right?
Well, and to make you feel better, that ends up making you feel worse.
Yeah, and this is the bad kind of bondage, not the good kind. Okay, moving on.
That I may better do thy will.
Well, what better do? I don't know what that is, do I? At this stage of the game, better do thy will. We'll discover what that is as we go along. Right? It's like starting a new job. Before it's how do I get the job? Now that I got the job, what does that entail? Right? Like what does that mean? How do I keep this job now? Well, to better do thy will, we'll find out what that is now. If you don't know what it is at this point, it would be to do the rest of the process at this point in time. Right?
The next thing in front of you. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties.
How cool is that? Take away my... So I don't know exactly what they are. They kind of outline that on page 62, 60, 60, 61, and 62, and give us a solution to that on 60, bottom of 62 and into 63. But personally, I have a rough idea, but I really don't know what they mean by that. Take away my difficulty. What is the nature of that? What is that describing? As they outlined on page 54, of these things within inside of me are determining the existence, my life, what it looks like. So there's things within me I can't see, feel, and test that are determining my attitude and outlook and view of life. Right?
That victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life.
Victory over them would be, in essence, what we read as the psychic change of spiritual experience in the back. That I don't create, but it's created through this process, and I have a new experience and new freedom. These things that are cast to one side, right? I'm no longer afflicted with them on the same level I was entering this thing, right?
Yeah. May I do thy will always. So
the message is not talking about the steps, which a lot of people, everybody talks about the steps, but that's not the message. The message is getting access to power and having different experience in my life before. So what I was like, what happened is this transition, this experience through this process, and getting access to power, right? Of thy power. Well, and Ebby talked about that, right? And revised Bill's idea of miracles right then and there. When you talk to us personally or in this group, you hear people who were like you, who are no longer making a rough going out of life. They seem there's something different about them. They're inwardly rearranged. They seem to be on different footing. What is that? As the access to this power. When we got access to this power, it kind of places us on a different plateau of living.
Absolutely.
Right? We're moving from an instinct-based, reactive, right, to a spiritual base of,
Totally.
Okay.
As well as from self-centered to all of a sudden, like if you look at the words here, take away my difficulties. For most of us, our prayer would end right there. Just take this away.
And here's my list. Here's my list.
And I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and I want, right?
And my difficulties, let's be honest, was never within me. It was, can you take her away? Can you take him away? Can you take my foreman away? Can you take those warrants away? Can you get the government off my back? It was all external stuff. This is
totally. But if we look at the wording of this, take away my difficulties. Why? That victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. Like, that's not an idea that I had ever thought of myself. That didn't even sound appealing when I first read this, right? Yeah. But something shifts as we go through this, that it becomes less about me, which turns out to be always my problem, and more about helping somebody else.
And the best example that the book gives is Bill's story. Ebby comes in, he pushed the drink his way, right? Not mindful of his well-being whatsoever. As he went through this process, he got connected to something where he was to check his newfound thing from the God consciousness within. And then as he lied in the hospital, he thought others might benefit from what was so freely given to him. How is not that a transformation? And what that looks like when we go to meetings, we may be heavy with life. But when we get to the meeting, we realize there's people praying to get to the level that we're complaining about, right? And finding an answer to the dilemma, and then we become refocused for that hour with the new person on carrying this message. And in turn, that lifts us up. Makes no sense whatsoever, but that's it, right? So that would be help with thy power, would be our step 12, right? So the beginning is the idea, the process, and the conclusion. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I never looked at step 3 like that before. Step 3 used to be, okay, it's all up to you now. Must be God's will this is happening.
Jesus, take the wheel.
That's right. Jesus, there's nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Did you do a 4-step yet? No. We'll find out why stuff is happening, and it ain't by mistake. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
We thought well before taking the step, making sure we were ready. That we could at last.
What do you mean? We thought well about what we're up against. If I waited to think well, nobody would ever do step 3. Well, I ain't thinking too well. Well, I guess I'll wait. Right? A lot of people think they have to get well before they take the steps, not realizing it's the steps process that gets them connected, that transfer them, that gets them well. If you were well before you took the steps, you'd never do the steps.
Totally.
Right? Because really, how many people got feeling better and thought, oh, this is it? And mistaken to forgetting better. That's why they said, remember, we deal with alcohol, cutting back, but I'm feeling really good. Yeah? So were you the last time you took a 24-hour chip and the last time before that, right? But and if acceptance was the answer to all our problems, it would be filled in here now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I always throw that out for Ray. He likes that. He's a man. I want a whole 15 minutes before putting that in there. Go ahead.
It's true. And how often we forget, even when we're working with other people, when we haven't gotten them all the way through this work yet, and we're giving them things to do that they can't yet accomplish on their own yet. They're not tapped into power yet, and we're asking them to think about their behavior or do this. Never once in the book does it say that. So I encourage you, and it's difficult to remember that all we're supposed to be doing is walking people through the stuff in this book. Getting them tapped into this power that's everything. That we're at the end of the day, we're all just human, and they need something much greater than what we think they should do.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if they say it as much anymore, but for a long time they used to say, make no major decisions in the first year. Right? I don't know if they say that anymore. This is a major decision. This is like the most major decision. That's ways that think, well, can we abandon ourselves? Can we move in a direction? Now do we got what it takes? We beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Well, we got the, wait a minute happening here. And the other part is, do you want to die? No, okay. Let's move. Like, there's got to be something that motivates us past us, because that's our biggest stumbling block. Take away my difficulties. Okay, go ahead.
We found it very desirable to take the spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional.
That's interesting. The wording is quite optional because you're meeting in humility with the idea that you need to get access to something that's going to save you from you. Because there's something that's killing me, right? And unless this thing gets rectified or corrected, I'm going to die an alcoholic life. That's a lot of humility to go with hat in hand, right? Because a lot of us are egomaniacs. Maybe I speak for myself, but humility is not our strong suit, right? That's why this is interesting. I don't know why we're going there, but it's interesting. If you look at the way this process is laid out, we don't wait for the new person or prospective, right? People we're going to work to ask us for help. We go start helping them. We take away that element of pride and ego without realizing it. We start walking with people, right? And it gets them past that we offer spiritual first aid. We administer first aid. They don't know they need it. They're still walking in shock. We know they're in shock, so we start administering first aid, right? And like you say, somewhere along the line, they'll thought it's their idea. We forget the struggles we had here. Right, like this is, and the cheese factory and the peanut gallery and the 3-ring circus happening up there is like, okay, go ahead.
The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we express the idea, voicing it without reservation. This was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once.
So it's the beginning of the engagement. You ask somebody to marry you, right? You give them the ring. It's serious what we're asking. It's a lifelong commitment, right? It's not. I'm just going to leave it there before I get myself into trouble, right? But it's not a shotgun marriage. It's something that I want to engage in, right? I'm fully committed to this thing, right? It's pretty awesome. Go ahead.
Next, we launched out onto a course of vigorous action.
Launched. What does that mean? Take our time. I'll get to it next week. Launched. You ever see something being launched? It's like us. It means, well, let's not be dramatic here. I'm working on step 4. What part are you working on? Getting a pen. I'm still getting the pen. I need to get a desk. I need to get the light. The brain takes over, right? I mean, when I was going to go start my 4, the guys who were working with me is the same like a group like this. They said, how's the 4th coming along? Oh, it's coming along. Oh, whereabouts are you on it? I'm shopping for a desk. I need to make the right environment. I need to go to IKEA, get a desk. I know where I'm going to set it up in my room, get a light. And they said, your life's on the line here, right? Like, let's get busy. And then they reiterated my decision to move forward. Anyways, go launched on a personal house cleaning, which
vigorous action. The first step of which was a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted.
And that's true. That's true within our fellowship. We all look for an easier, softer way because the engagement through this course of action is the humility of engaging with something greater than ourselves. Most people like the idea of engaging with themselves. So this stage of the game, there's two directions people move in within our fellowship. One is self-discovery on how self could fix self. And they're working on this defect, they're working on that, they're working on these triggers and all these things. And the other is I need to have this connection, right? So these two groups of people are practicing the technically same process with two different ideas involved. One is to get connection with something greater than ourselves, and the other thinks is more connection with ourselves. It's about loving me. It's about me. It's about me. First stage recovery, right?
Yeah.
And then
you just by no fault of their own, too. People, right? You get guided in the wrong direction. You go to enough meetings, you're going to hear wrong information, but it sounds right to you based on what you think. People fall through the cracks.
And the basis of that is not being able to overcome the difficulties of self because the needed power isn't there. And they don't know it. And they're talking about their experience as being a crippling one. And we talk about our experience as being a free one. Big difference. A lot of people talk about the 4th step, boogeyman. You're not writing down anything you don't know about you. Except now you've just tattletaled on you, right? Okay, go ahead.
Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us.
So there you go. There's an idea, the things that have been blocking us. And then look at the next thing. Our liquor.
Our liquor was but a symptom. So we had
a symptom to the disease of alcoholism. That is not the main problem, right? It is the main problem, but it's not. We don't address the solution to that. We don't treat that. We have a solution for it. And it's getting access to this power. So if we don't get access to this power, right, then our story remains the same. It's just a matter of time before we relapse again. So our liquor is but a symptom, right, to the idea that we don't have a solution to this thing and no human power could relieve us from it, right? It's still very much a problem. A symptom is a symptom. A symptom will kill you, right? Like, when you have an abscessed tooth, the tooth is rotten, right? But causes the abscess. It's actually the abscess that can kill you, right? The symptom to the abscess, right, to the rotten tooth is the abscess. So alcoholism is the abscess that we can't get rid of. It's just a symptom, but we had to get down to causes and conditions, right? Why lack of power is our dilemma and getting access to power. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And it goes on to answer that, right? So things that are blocking us. So we had to get down to cause and conditions, right?
Therefore we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade.
So there we go, fact-facing, fact-finding process. So they're giving us an overlay of this inventory process that we lack, or we don't have the skills of cultivating within ourselves. Because if we did, then we wouldn't need to do the 4. We need to be able to see ourselves differently than how we see ourselves. And we need to see about the truth about the stock, these blocks, these things that they talked about, these feelings, these emotions, these things that they talked about on page 54 that determine the existence of our lives, that we can't see. It's below the surface, right? Most people's misery starts within, and it's expressed on their face, right? Are these extravagant promises? We think not. Well, somebody should inform your face, right? You can't hide miserable. I don't care who you are, right? First thing Bill noticed about Ebby was his eyes. The guy was lit up from the inside out, right? So a lot of people sitting in our fellowship missing my dad, God bless, he was sober and he had a Christian-based life, but he really missed the whole essence of this. He couldn't break the bondage of self, and it was evident with everybody around him but him. He couldn't see how he was the cause of all his problems and how the basis of the relations he formulated were based on confusion rather than harmony. Right? So it was interesting. I used to have a set of a shoe. I met my dad when I was 16. I had a set of shoes by the front door and a set of shoes by the back door. When he came home, the sober guy, anxiety, everybody's still waiting. When he came in, what kind of mood is he in? What kind of condition is he? But when he went to AA, he was like when you went to the bar, different personality than he was with the life around. That, like, if people were to ask, hey, are the promises coming true in your life as the result of promises coming true in your dad's life? We're waiting. We're still waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah. Taking a commercial inventory is effort. Sorry. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods and get rid of them promptly without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values.
And that's interesting, value, how we value things. They talked about that again, page 54, right? This is a summary of what creates our lives, the things we value. It may be different than what the things you value, but the things that really make up my personality is the things I hold true. Value and stuff like that. My inability to see the truth in things. Right? Like I have these things behind me. I value all of those things, have value to them. When I look at them, there's a story behind them. Right? And in this essence, there's stuff within inside of me. And when I look at life, it triggers, there's that word, it creates a response within me with the value I hold on that, my belief system around that, people, places, and things. Right? It's kind of like that. I need to see what is these things inside of me formulating these feelings, ideas, and emotions. Right? What's governing this? Why can't I control my emotional nature? Why can't I overcome these things that are crippling me? Why am I always in bondage with me? Why can't I overcome this self-imposed crisis or these emotional deformities that are crippling me, that possess me, that hold me hostage? Why can't I overcome them? That's where we're going to find out, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure.
So underline that, because that's going to be the thing in step 6, is the flaws in our makeup that caused our failure. This book is circular. It always comes back to something that was. So if you look at this, it goes back to stuff they were explaining in the doctor's opinion. It goes back to what they're explaining in Bill's story. It goes back to what they were talking about. There is a solution. More about alcoholism. And really covered really well in we agnostics, the human condition. And they really hammer home the human condition on page 60 to 63. Right? And you notice the third step prayer, it didn't say relieve me of my alcoholism on a daily basis, did it? It talked about the human condition, because we can't treat alcoholism, so I need to get access to this power to see how it works in my life And as I see how it works in my life and I get access to it, it removes the very thing that was killing me, the symptom, the alcohol, this condition, right? Alcoholism. It removes it, right? And I'm left with the human component that I apply these spiritual principles to have a different experience. But I need the recipe in this formula, this brain, to develop that. That's why in step 11, it says it becomes a working part of the mind. What does? What we're going to learn in 4 is the foundation for 11. A lot of people get upset when they say that. Well, why would they give us this formula now and our lack of understanding of it? So they're going to show us how to, it's like going on a new job and they all have their way of doing inventory. Here's how we do inventory here. We've been and they show us the formula on how to achieve what they're hoping on, right? So it doesn't cripple the business. They're very, does that kind of make, it's like when you open your fridge. Some things you don't need explained what's no good anymore. Like the science project that used to be celery, it's no longer celery. It becomes very evident. I don't remember that orange being that fuzzy, right? You just know. And you get rid of them without regret. If not, they just pool in the bottom of your, they don't go away and it gets worse. You can't ignore it. You can't keep the door shut. You got to take the whole jar out, empty the soup, and then get rid of all the stuff, clean it out, and put it back. And then what you do is watch for that in the future so it doesn't happen again, right? Does that kind of make sense? It's like letting your dishes pile up to a point where you have to get a rubber glove to get into the bottom to unplug it. Right? No. The pile up, the kitchen, where you walk in your kitchen and go, oh my God, look at this mess, and you turn around and leave. Anybody?
No.
Back when you were drinking, you didn't have a kitchen. Sorry. You didn't have a kitchen when you were drinking, right?
I didn't even eat when I was drinking. Let's be serious.
The mess, right? And then when you buckle down and you get to it and you clean your house, gives you that good feeling, right? Yeah, then the other thing is I could work toward keeping it that way or let it happen again, right?
Yeah.
There's that glass. It's formulating a stain.
Up again.
I'll get it tomorrow. I got more glasses in the cupboard. If we wasn't meant to use all the glasses,
who uses a glass anyways? Back to the bottle.
Okay, so we got a rough idea here, right? We did exactly the same thing with our lives. Well, let's see what it says here.
Okay.
First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup.
Which caused our failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various
You know what?
ways.
There's people right now going, I don't wear makeup. Some of us are not well, right? This is where sponsorship comes in. Is like, what did you hear or what did you read there? Could you kind of, how do you interpret that?
What do you just want to argue about?
That's right.
What did you actually hear?
Go ahead.
Which caused our failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us.
So ready? So now they turn the conversation. Remember? Self or self-centered, that is the root of our problems, right? Driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion. Self. Yes. There's no way entirely getting rid of self without his aid because our brain knows us better than we do. It disguises itself in us believing stuff that isn't true or hiding things that we need to look at or you know what I mean? We're able to keep things very to this week. What did you do last week? Doesn't matter. This week I'm doing good. That's what, let's look at our whole life. Okay, go ahead.
That's what we think we're doing when we're letting it go.
Manifested in various ways. How it shows up. Manifested in various ways. How it shows up, right? In various ways.
Yeah.
Which had what?
We considered as common manifestations.
Yeah, so hold on. Defeated us. We consider, so they're going to show us how to look at these things within inside of ourselves. That's been happening all along, but your inability to see it mostly is, why is this always happening to me? I can't believe God is doing this to me. Why is always these people conspiring against me? Why can't I ever get, why? Anybody? I can't believe this is always happening to me. Why? Your GPS no working too good. It's going to bring you back to exactly where you're trying to get away from. How many people has ended up in the very same spot they tried to get away from? In fact, same problems, same conditions, same, right? And sometimes worse, because the mechanism in our mind has us repeating what we don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
It's like when you go when I was in the Army, they taught you how to read a map and how to get it located to the area you're in, and then they give you a compass. You got to line up the map with the compass and the path you're going to take, and you use those two things to get you out from where you are. Without them, you do a full circle, and you come back to where you are without realizing in the area that you're trying to get away from. We're just guided that way. But alcoholics, when we're in the snow, right, and we're trying to get out from where we are, and we walk along enough, when we see another footprints, we don't realize there are footprints. We go, oh my God, there's somebody else here. And then we walk some more. Oh my God, there's two of them. I'm going to hurry now, right? And that's how we go through life, right? They're saying, whoa, right? We're going to get, so the book becomes the map, we become the compass, and God becomes true north. And we line those things, and it gets us out from where we are, right? We may not see it in that moment, and I got to do this story. So it kind of illustrates the human mind. So these guys were in the bayou. You like this one, Ray? So they were going to go fishing, so they rented a boat. And the guy says to these guys, here, take this compass, right? And you're going to go out, and the fog comes in really fast here. And what you're going to trust is the compass to bring you back. You just need to point this compass north, and it'll bring you back here. You'll see the lighthouse as you get closer to it. You won't be able to see it out where you are. So the fog comes in faster than they realized, and they couldn't see in front of them, like they were consumed with this thing. So as they started going back, his friend says, we're going the wrong way. But they only had enough gas to get back to where they came from. His friend and him started thinking, we got to go the other way, right? Which would have took them out to sea. And so they argued about the information that they were given by the people that led them to both. They got in an argument between them both, right? Did he really mean north? Did he really mean, maybe this thing is broken, right? Could you see that? And then one guy said, no, we're going to follow this because our lives depend on it. And they took the boat and they pointed it the same direction that the compass was going, and they were able to get into that situation that was beyond them of getting out on their own resources. And that kind of like where we're at here, right? I always love that story. Go ahead.
Resentment is the number one offender.
Whoa, what? Mm-hmm. So we're looking at the common manifestations. So there's a couple of them. So for illustration here is the first one is resentment, then fear, then conduct, and harms. We're going to look at how these things defeated us and what caused them, right? How did they come about? What was the basis of that, right? So resentment is the number one offender. Look at the wording here. It's very important, right? The wording. What does it say?
Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease.
All forms, right? From what? We're looking at from resentment. It doesn't say alcoholism here, does it? So now we see why we're having so much we will see why we're having so much difficulty, because we're filled with resentment. I've never seen a happy alcoholic coming into AA unless he was still drunk. Hey, I just thought I'd come in and check in on you guys. But yet, left alone, right? Our alone time's not good, is it? So we come here, and then we're sitting in a meeting looking for help, but we can't get past our resentments, fears, anxieties, anticipation of what the future may bring, what the past has done. We're sitting there, how am I going to get out of this? I need a job. I need a girlfriend. I need more money. Anybody? Self is taken over, which is our first obsession. How am I going to fix me with me? I've never met a new person ever come in. Hey, I just heard how it works. That sounds fantastic. How can I get engaged in that? I've never met anybody ever say that. They're always telling us what they need to do. Second meeting, they're repeating what they heard in the first meeting. By the third meeting, they're sponsoring people. Like, it's crazy, right? We're nuts. Okay, go ahead. Resentment is the number one offender. From it stems all forms
of spiritual disease. For we have not only been mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick.
Why? Because of the resentments.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first one. Then the fears and harms. So we see why I can't get over self, because these are all the blocks that block me off from this power that we all have access to, and every man, woman, child is the fundamental idea of God. Right? For us, we gotta do a lot of removal before we get. It's like having a really like in the movie industry, we put blackout on windows so you can't see through it. Right? And sometimes we put a couple different layers on it. On the other side of that blackout is a huge production light. And sometimes if there's a little hole in the screen, the light shines through it. And that's kind of like where we're at. We have this thing that's pierced us in a way that we know there's something and I'm willing to pursue it, but there's all this other stuff in the way. And so as I start removing these layers or these blocks or these things, as I start removing this stuff from the window that's really stuck to it, it reveals more light. And the more light or the more experience I have with this thing, the more I see the benefit of doing it. And that's the beginning of the fourth. Right? As we start going, and I get a bit of relief by something that don't make no sense whatsoever, I start going, well, because it's a phenomenon. Like I wasn't well when I got here. I know a lot of you find that hard to believe. But I would go, they said, practice the third step prayer as I'm doing my fourth. I said, well, what does prayer have to do with it? They said, just try it. So I'd try it. I'd word it, my wording. Hey, I don't know who or what you are, but I need help. Save me from me and save others from me. That was my prayer, right? and then I say, and then the serenity prayer. And this, I'm doing these prayers, right? And I'm like, I got fangs growing, hair on my knuckle. I'm dragging Neanderthal. My nickname was Tony Montana, right? Golden Gloves boxer of the Maritime Group. Like I was not well, right? But I didn't know it. I just thought mostly misunderstanding. So I do these stupid prayers and I get some relief. Then I say, you know what? I'm trying not to pray for the next 2 days doing this. And I was out of my mind. And I seen, trying to hold my breath, right? And then I seen the benefit of taking a breath, right? It's kind of like, there's something to this. Even though I don't understand it, I'm starting to have this experience with this thing that people talked about that gave me enough relief to face me. So a lot of people try to do the fourth step without prayer. The only prayer we have is the third step prayer and serenity prayer right now, right? The wording's optional. So when I get into bondage, I'm getting into the story. So I need to be able to shift, and the only shift we have is prayer, right? So I turn to prayer even though I don't understand it to give me the strength to continue on the fourth. Without that, I'm crippled by self. Anybody been there? My own story cripples me. Right? And this just gives me the ability to move forward with a bit of grace, right? And a bit of humility. Anyway, I don't know why I went there, but there you go.
It's important, very important, because it gets missed a lot. A lot of people don't know that's the most important part of the four is the prayer.
Because, we're trying to get access to power. Create this. It's not about learning how to work the program. It's how do I get access? How do I get my driver's license?
Totally.
Do you understand all the principles of sitting in the driver's seat? Yes. Do you understand how it all goes together? Yes. Okay, look out the window and put it all together. If you ever went for your driver's license and you're looking at the brake pedal, you're going to be in trouble really soon. I'm practicing the principle of stopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so we've been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically.
So they use the spiritual malady, the word malady twice in our basic so far. And the word obsession twice. And both times it's in regards to two different things. And this time it's in regards to two different things. So they're saying the spiritual malady, we know it's present. We don't really know how it kind of exhibits itself or how it came about. But this is the basis of understanding is these resentments are blocking us off from the power that we need to live by, right? We need to find a way of living or else. So this malady is a condition that's present that we really can't put our finger on, right? But here they're saying, well, we're going to start helping you put your finger on it, right? Because here we go, right?
Definitely, yeah. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry.
This is so you take a piece of paper with lines, you fold it in half so you have four sides to it now. right, left, right, front, and back. Back, right, the back with two more sides. On the first column, you put all the names of people, places, things that come to mind. No story, just the names. Sit quietly, do the third step prayer. Who am I? And I thought, I'm not resentful at anybody. So my response said, how about the people you were angry at, or the people you yet to get even with, or the people you were mad at? Oh, yeah, I've got people. So I didn't understand the full name. I had a list of people still to get even with, or I held ill feeling toward, or right. And then I understood what resentment was: the replaying and refeeling of these things that from when I was a kid, they'd just come back on and possess me, and that story would go into another story, and then it'd create depression and anxiety and right and all that other stuff. Then I'd have to create a diversion from that to get out of that. It would perpetuate that story over and over and over. So just make a list. Right, so the first one was my mom, and then my dad, and then Shirley School, the RCMP, OPP, right? And I just, whatever came to mind. And that was it. If it comes to mind and you start analyzing it, is that what you're supposed to do? Is it worthy of being put on the paper? Right? Have I already dealt, if you've already dealt with it, then it wouldn't come to mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I put that stuff down. And we'll be resistant to some things, right? Like my sister, I didn't want to put my sister down. For 2 days, I resisted the idea of putting my sister down because there was guilt and shame about me being resentful against my sister without realizing it. So my sponsor said, just put her down and move on. I put my sister down, and that unlocked 4 more names, right? And sometimes it'd be stupid stuff, like the guy with the blue cap. I've done inventories before, but never like this. I've been through treatment twice. The guy with the blue cap has never come up in any other process that I've done, because I was asking God to reveal the things inside of me that were blocking me. I call them abscesses on my spirit, right? These abscesses were like the same abscesses that grow in our mouth that could actually have the potential to kill, poisoning of oneself, right? So the guy with the blue cap came up, and I thought, I just put him down, right? And as I went through the rest of the inventory, we'll visit that later, how that lied dormant in my life since I was 6 years old. It was interesting. All I can remember was the blue cap, but that blue cap would tell me the story around that. So it doesn't matter. I don't have to write the whole story down. All I have to go is back to this piece of paper with these names of people, places. I look at the blue cap, I know the story. I look at RIO Theater, I know the story. Greyhound Bus, I know the story. I know the story. It's like when you see something or say something, and how many people here, when we've talked about something, it kind of put you in a memory of something in the past, where you got engaged in your own thought and your own ideas or your own story. See how the mind works?
Yeah.
So when your consciousness reveals something, all it's asking us to do is put it down. Fact-facing process. You open the closet, we don't know, we're not answering why it got there. Right? We're answering, oh, look at this thing. This doesn't belong here. It doesn't go on the paper. No, if it's there, it goes on the inventory process. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
How did you find that, Katie?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something you clarified for me, is if it comes to mind, you write it down.
What exactly? And we said, and without realizing what we're doing is you're seeing how you function with basic information in the saving of your own life.
Totally.
How resistant we are to simple instructions, right? It's a simple program, but let me put it through the filter, right? Yeah. And there's people arguing with what we've said, so I see it. How do you know? Because I was that person arguing with stuff, right? Yeah. But when I went through, okay, so we got the resentments. Now what do we do with them? We share them with another person. No, it's not that kind of inventory, okay? Write them down. Then we have the worksheets. If anybody needs help with that, I don't know if anybody posts them anymore, but they're in the Keystone group. And if you go on to YouTube, Tony.R, right, there's talks in there in regards to the 4-step. The worksheets are also on there in regards to the 4-step inventory process.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not about writing out this huge story. It's a fact-finding process.
That's the thing. When you print these out, you'll find there's not much room for words, because it's not meant to be. The problem is we're so attached to the story that comes along with that resentment, and it's the story that has the energy which drives us. So if you're sitting there and you're writing out, and this is why I'm mad, and then they did this, and then they did, it doesn't, we're not asking for that. It's point form, you know the story, and when you get into the 5, you'll do it, but it's not meant to be a journal entry about why you hate this person, why they did you wrong.
Yeah, is it? Are we supposed to refeel that way? We could really dedicate ourselves to the process, refeel and re-agonize, punish ourselves more. No, it's like, whoa, wait. It's like when somebody wants to argue with you, and you go, wait a minute, I don't want to argue. And that's kind of what we do with ourselves. Wait a minute, I don't want to refeel and relive this. So I can't continue to talk with it. I need a shift, and the shift is the prayer.
That's exactly
and then going
it.
back to the information, right? Then what does it ask us to do?
In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, blah, blah, blah. We asked ourselves why we were angry.
Oh, this is a good part. You get to take other people's inventory. Awesome. This is why I'm mad. Those sons of a bitches, right? This is what they did. This is what they did. And we're usually as defined as what they talk about on the next page here, 65. So I'm resentful of Mr. Brown. That was on the one sheet that I transferred to the worksheet. And then, why am I mad? See, his attention to my wife. Told my wife and my mistress, Brown may get my job at the office. Anybody ever see those shirts at Roundups? Mr. Brown needs his ass kicked. That's funny, right? And that's how we feel, right? But we're going past that emotional attachment to just these point-blank bullets. Like when you look at the steps on the wall, they're only a point-blank of the information behind it. So when you look at step 1 on the wall or in the book, it's just one. We admitted we're powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. Well, all the way from page 44 back explains the problem. That's a lot of information. That's like your 4th step. All you need to do is a little to remind you of the story, and then when you do your 5th, you could engage in the whole thing, right? Go ahead. No, that's good right there. You know what?
Yeah.
If we can get that kind of established this week, it'd be really good. Why are you angry? So it's your truth. Remember, in how it works, it says we're willing to be rigorous, honest. And it doesn't mean, it's funny, I thought I had to find out what honesty was before. That's not what they're talking about. They're asking me to be honest how I think and feel. What's going on up here? What's going on up here in the Jack Nicholson bus, right? Like what's happening? Here's Johnny. Like the whole theater thing that happens in my mind that changes my personality on a constant basis. Any transformational people here? That given the situation, a personality shows up for every occasion, right? That's what they're talking about. Right? Or when you ever relive, it's funny, I tell sponsors sometimes, they phone me with a resentment. I said, now go look in the mirror and say the same story, right? You look in the mirror and your face is getting all contorted, like bent out of shape, and as you're watching yourself, a lot of them start laughing, right? You see how something that's not happening in the moment still has the ability to possess you. Bondage. Isn't that interesting? And how one goes into the other, and that's not the point of the exercise. Stop, right? Drop and roll, right? Because you're going to catch on fire here. Stop. The force is stop, drop, and roll here, right? Stop, prayer, redirect, right? God save me from myself. The wording save me from myself. You see the difficulty I'm having here. Help me get through this. I know I need to get through this because I'm going to die an alcoholic death if I don't. What's motivating me? Not to be a nicer person. Die an alcoholic death or accept spiritual help. I think when you get motivated like that is, okay, I'll write this stuff down. No one said you had to like it. And you notice it's not anything you don't already know.
Yeah. That's funny. Totally.
Right? It's like walking with tacks in your shoe. Right? Most of us try to walk with our foot a little crooked so we don't step on the tack. Anybody? Well, here's saying we're going to stop, take the shoe off, and take the tack out. What? What? Oh my God. So anyways, I had a lot of fun today. How about you?
Yeah, me too.
It was good.
Great.
So yeah, we have a question and Q&A period here. If anybody wants to join us afterwards, we have some fellowship. There's some talks online to help you go through this if you want to move ahead. But we're going to break it down a little, and then we're going to pick up speed through this, right? Because you're either engaged in it or you're not. And if you think you've already done it for, this will confirm what you've already done. And if you haven't done this for, it's going to cause a bit of, what the hell are you talking about? And we'll see read ahead, and it'll tell you the whole purpose of the 4-step. And you might be surprised. Well, here's this. Write down what you think all the purposes of the 4-step is. And when we finish the 4-step, let's see if they match up.
That's great, yeah.
Right? So before we create a lynch mob here, why don't we close with the Serenity Prayer? That way I know at least you prayed twice today, Katie.
Oh, you know I pray all day.
I know you do. I can tell by the smile on your face, eh? And your husband looked very comfortable. Sleeping. I can tell you're praying. I haven't got a call from your family in a while now, so that's good.
Thanks to God. Lots of prayer.
That's good. What's the basis for a great life? God. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Live long and prosperous. May the force be with you. And next week we'll open up with the 3rd-step prayer, because that's where we're at, right? And we'll close with the 3rd-step prayer, because that's where we're at, right? So that's it. That's all. And we have a great meeting Tuesday. Ray's just finishing up how it works. He's feeling a lot better tonight, so that's awesome. It's good to see him in good spirits. And a women's meeting, 6 o'clock for women, same Zoom. And Saturday, there's Leo, does the same Zoom, I understand. You can get more information on the Keystone Big Book Step Study Workshop group online if you care to join us.